Good morning, wrestling fans, and welcome to PWR Today, Thursday morning. It's now December 9th, 2021. The man they call Meathead, and the Matthew of the street, the Matthew of the Skyways, Matthew Thomas. Good morning, Matthew. The
Yeah,
M.O.T.S.
I'm on the street when I'm on the street. I'm in the Skyways when I'm on the Skyways. I'm in the subway when I'm on the subway. I don't know if I've ever actually taken a subway, but theoretically, if I was
But
on
you've
the
eaten Subway.
I have eaten Subway, and I've actually now I can say this will get me some of that Milwaukee cred. I've eaten Cousins.
There you go. Hey, Cousins is a Milwaukee institution. It is a Wisconsin institution. In this other life that I have outside of what we do here on the podcast, they were asked me to give one unique fact. I said, I and Cousin Subs were created in the same year. That's how old Cousin Subs is.
Interesting. Well, there you go. No, so I got mine at the airport. You actually sent me a picture of some that you had that night as well, too. But I think there was an abbreviated menu at the airport because that combination steak and sausage that I saw on that picture of the menu you sent me, I did not have that option at the airport, which I did have some sausage in Milwaukee, but I never successfully found the sausage man.
Well, here's the thing. So the unique part about Cousins is, I don't know if you noticed this, they don't have 6-inch and 12-inch. You don't get a foot long.
Mm-hmm.
You have a half and a whole. Cousins
Yep.
goes an inch and a half above. So the Cousins half is a 7.5-inch sub, and the Cousins whole is a 15-inch sub.
Yeah. No, I saw that. I noted that, and that's it's very appreciative. It's
it's like the Amish of the subs. Everything you people do, we do at 1.5.
Absolutely, and you know what? I don't think I got the 7.5, and I don't think they cut it. I think it was one full sandwich, which I enjoyed.
7.5 is one full sandwich.
I like the presentation value of that. Yep.
There you go. All right. Well, glad that you enjoyed your Cousins from Milwaukee, Algonquin for the good land. Excuse me. Let us talk about what you were wearing when you flew out, what you're probably wearing right now, and what we wear day to day.
You got to make careful. If you need to put a bib on, you need to put a bib on, so you do not ruin your collar.
Wasn't that a Beyonce song? Put a bib on it.
Put a bib on it. It may very well. I need to go back through the Beyonce catalog. But while I'm going back through the Beyonce catalog, I will be wearing my Collar and Elbow brand gear, available exclusively at collarandelbowbrand.com. Enter promo code Linda K. LINDAKAY. Save 10%. You and I did not talk about this off air. I meant to send it to you and Linda earlier in the day, and I did not. But unless it's not on your radar, Linda wrestling Serena Deeb the other night was actually featured on Serena Deeb's Instagram today.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. Unfortunately for Serena, she ran into Linda K.
She did. But just another news item there for you, Meathead. Yeah, I'm leading off the news today.
There you go. And our own Linda K making the news. All right. Let's talk about some of the other news out there. Jericho says that he is going to retire from wrestling when he feels like it. Jericho 51 says that he's going to keep going until he doesn't want to do it anymore. While Jericho is not the physical specimen he might have been in his 90s and early 2000s run, Jericho can...
He's not the specimen he was in his 90s.
In the 90s and 2000s.
Oh.
He is still entertaining. And he's still able to go. Jericho in the ring still works, right? So Jericho's been in the business for 31 years. And he told, Newsweek when he was being interviewed, he doesn't know when he's going to go. When it stops being fun, that's when he'll stop. And he said he's just enjoying working with the new crop of talent.
Well, that sounds reasonable. I think that's as good of a rule.
That's a Jericho-styled answer.
Yeah, as any. It's kind of like my philosophy. When I'll stop eating stuffing, it's like I'll stop eating stuffing when I am good and full and ready to stop eating stuffing.
I'll stop eating stuffing when stuffing stops being delicious. That's when
Exactly. Yeah, I don't count on that happening anytime soon.
Never. And we're talking from homemade to the box.
Exactly.
BlackJack Lanza has passed away. BlackJack Lanza was up in his 80s. What was he, 86? But former WWE Hall of Famer, BlackJack Lanza, also an agent for WWE, a producer in the back for a very long time as well. And, even Vince McMahon tweeting out about the love and respect they had for BlackJack Lanza.
Absolutely. Sorry to hear of that news. Glad it sounds like he lived a nice, long, lengthy life.
Speaking about somebody who's living a life and actually has become cancer-free again, Hacksaw Jim Duggan says that he's cancer-free again, and he's defeated it. That he went in for prostate cancer surgery on October 29th down in your old stomping grounds at the MUSC, the Medical University of South Carolina. And you know what? He's back, and
Awesome.
he has defeated cancer.
That is fantastic. Glad to hear that, and glad to hear that good, optimistic news from
The second
Hacksaw.
bout with cancer. 20 years ago, he had kidney cancer. Now prostate cancer. Early detection saves lives. I mean, 100%.
100%. Well, sorry you had to go through that. Glad he was able to catch it earlier, and glad to hear that great news.
All right. And lastly, Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano had farewell messages after NXT went off the air on Tuesday night. They both basically said their goodbyes. Now, we knew the Johnny Gargano thing was on TV, one of the 2.0 talents. Obviously, I think that was Grayson Waller. But the 2.0 talents getting there, getting over on the black and gold talents. And Kyle O'Reilly got put down by Von Wagner in the cage on Tuesday night. Their both contracts are expired. Johnny, I honestly don't see coming back for a while. He's going to raise that baby that's coming, baby wrestling. And Kyle, he may go work somewhere else.
Yeah. And I mean, two names that are really associated with NXT 1.0. And it's, two more that I think that we are seeing, kind of go their separate ways from NXT. So, further signs of a shift, within that brand.
Speaking of a shift, I have a shift of opinion on All Elite Wrestling. Last night, Dynamite was in the UBS Arena in Long Island. It was at Belmont Park, and that's the home of Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF. Matthew, the opening segment started off with MJF's music, but Punk coming out. And this segment was weird. It was absolutely weird. It wasn't Punk and MJF back and forth, in front of each other. It was Punk for the first 10, possibly 15 minutes in the ring. And then it was MJF with the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal right after. And the amazing promo package that he got, the little vignette that he got to come into the ring. MJF has been lauded as one of the best heels in a very long time. He did not act like a heel last night. He's not the best heel if he does stuff like that.
My opinion is just it's changing via the minute. I know what they were going for, and I know probably what would have happened organically. Here's the thing. You would have had last week when he cut his promo, I'm thinking maybe you're going to have a 50-50 reaction when you get to Long Island. Mm-hmm. I think you would have gotten that reaction regardless of AEW attempting to turn the knob in any direction. What AEW did last night was they made a very blatant move at turning the knob. Punk coming out to MJF's music. Now, Punk may very well, in his promo with MJF, Cult of Personality hits, it might be 50-50, but they set it up for Punk to get booed. And furthermore, 3, if not 4 references to the Islanders. That was probably what concerned me more than anything about the Punk promo, because the slight on the local sports team, in my opinion, is cheap heat.
And can I stop you there?
Go right ahead.
It's already been done last week by Seth Rollins.
And it's also the type of thing, if you go to an indie show and you're not sure who's the babyface, who's the heel, guess what? The heel's going to be the guy knocking the town, knocking the sports team. And not only that, you got deeper into it as the promo went on, because you could make the case with him knocking the sports team. Okay, it's light kind of banner back and forth, but then it's like, nobody here has the guts to fight. You go into a deeper heel mode with Punk. And I think the thing of it is, it's just such a departure from the Punk character. Now, he was making a good case in the fact that he had an issue with the audience because this is who you admire. This is who you cheer. So I get where some of that's coming from. It felt like they were trying to manipulate the audience response a little bit more than was needed, to the point that it potentially took Punk out of the character we see week to week, and also took MJF out of the character we see week to week.
And not in a positive way, to be completely honest.
It's a risky move with somebody who is consistently praised as very possibly the best heel in the industry.
Okay. Secondly, is it a one-off this week, or do they trend this way going forward?
No, it's got to be, man. It's got to be. Here's the problem.
It's got to be what?
It's got to be a one-off. If you want to keep MJF on the same trajectory, it's got to be a one-off. Here's the danger, though. This didn't take place in a vacuum. This did not take place in front of that building. This took place in front of a national audience. And so, I got to admit, as untraditional as it may have been, I was coming around on MJF, at the end of that second segment. And, there was part of me that said, oh, man, I can't wait to see him retain his ring next week. So if that's what I'm thinking, you got to think there's other people out there thinking the same thing. And is that what you are trying to put across with your company's number one heel? And I don't think it is.
No. So thirdly, how do they recover?
AEW has done a very good job of making something short term when they want to make it something short term. Do we ever talk about Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley and the Sparklers with the exploding ring thing anymore? No, we've moved on past that in a week or two. Do we ever talk about Nick Gage and his pizza cutter anymore? No, with the exception
commercial.
With the exception when he did not show up at Blizzard Brawl, because, but I guess Nick Gage is GCW, not GLCW. So he wasn't there. He didn't get the wrong building or anything. So AEW has done a very good job of doing so many things consistently fantastic that when there is a hiccup, they move on down the road. And again, there are things that I question about last night's presentation, but I don't necessarily put it in the hiccup category like I did the sparkling ring or Nick Gage. I'm just a little bit kind of confused by it and don't know, quite what to make of it. But I think they'll recover just by, pressing down on the gas on heel MJF.
Okay. So the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal is coming up next, and it had the video hype package for MJF airing, naming all of his accomplishments in his hometown, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. And not hilarious. I mean, it's legit, right? But the whole point was to make him a heel, like a conquering hero coming home, but a heel. The crowd popped huge for him, and you know what? He was emotional on stage. I understand that. But if you're a heel, you have to do something. Don't be cheap. And say, that's why I left this podunk town. Do something to make them boo you. Now, is he going to be able to do that? Let's talk about the match. The match featured Dante Martin, Frankie Kazarian, Jay Lethal, Lee Johnson, Lee Moriarty, Leo Rush, Matt Hardy, Matt Seidel, MJF, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, and Wardlow. Went through one, maybe two commercial breaks, if I'm not mistaken. Dante Martin and MJF were the final two. Right, and that's because Dante Martin chucked Ricky Starks out of the ring. Apparently, he also took off the Team Taz armband that he had on. So it was Leo Rush and Dante Martin swerving Team Taz, or just a change of heart at the end. However, Dante Martin is now on his own with Leo Rush again. And next week, Dante Martin and MJF will go to see if MJF is the only time Diamond Battle Royal winner, or does Dante Martin become the new owner of the ring?
I don't see it as a gimmick for Dante Martin. I can't imagine him walking around with a ring. I mean, it's MJF's gimmick. It's become part of the character in the promos. Yeah. And I think he retains it. I mean, are we running the risk of it being too much of a gimmick for MJF and the fact that that's what he's got? He's not the guy winning titles because he's going to have his ring. I don't know, man. It's again, that's kind of uncharted territory where you've got this annual ring that you're kind of quote unquote, defending.
All right. the beatdown happened. CM Punk came out to make the save because as we saw MJF going, should I help? Should I help? He goes to help, and the crowd just pops huge. But then he beats down Dante Martin. So is that the comeback? Is that the I hate you as a town? I'm going to beat this guy down.
Not necessarily. It was a heel doing what a heel does. He didn't directly do anything against that town, and
Correct.
I mean that's what AEW is doing. I mean the same thing. You got to go back to Britt Baker. They're letting the heels be faces in their towns. And
speaking of the faces, that T-shirt that Punk had on with the 4 pillars that had Britt Baker on it, I hope that's for sale because that shirt was hot.
Yeah. That's they took some risks last night, and we'll see how things play off in the long run.
Okay. The second match was an 8-man tag match. It was Jurassic Express and the Varsity Blondes defeating the Acclaimed and 2.0. Really just I think a very basic, a very bland 8-man tag. Everybody got in their stuff, and it was a AEW 8-man tag.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're seeing with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and I'd like to see more development with Jack.
Aren't they still the number 1 contenders, or did they lose that already?
I think they're still number 1, right?
Right, even though they don't get the title match this Friday, but they're the number 1 contenders.
Yeah, so no, this was just kind of there for me. I mean, it was a way to get 8 people on TV, and I feel like I think you're kind of in a holding pattern there with Jurassic Express, and I think you've been there for a while.
Okay. FTR and Tully Blanchard cut the promo about how they're going to take on the Lucha Brothers this Friday on Rampage for the AEW Championship. Ray Phoenix will be back. Lucha Brothers, again, I don't understand why they don't explain the fact that Penta El Zero Miedo loses his mask. It's not the first time he's lost his mask. Yeah. We need to have that addressed.
Yeah, and with what we saw with Rampage going up the air, I mean, it is a big deal in storyline when a luchador loses his mask.
Absolutely. I think the segment of the night was involved this tag team match. It was Chaos, which is Chuck Taylor and Rocky Romero with Orange Cassidy taking on the Young Bucks, Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson with Adam Cole and Brandon Cutler. The match was what it was, but at the end, a minivan pulled up, Matthew. Yeah. And in that minivan was Trent. It's Trent's mom and Trent.
Yeah, this was fantastic. This was the feel-good moment of the night, and everybody was ready for it.
The only thing I didn't see was Trent's mom putting the finger out the window.
Fantastic.
Trent's mom is over, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Oh, without a doubt. We haven't seen, speaking of vehicles,
to the arena.
We haven't seen FTR's truck recently. I hope everything's all right with that.
No, it's all about Sue and Trent's mom, and the minivan. Shivani was going to interview Sammy Guevara, but Cody Rhodes music hits, and it's the first time we've seen Cody Rhodes coming out of a tunnel in I can't remember when, but he's accepting the Open Invitational, and he's going to challenge Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship.
And did you see him start to go back through one tunnel and then change his direction? Oh my goodness. I tell you, man, I'm very fascinated by the whole Cody thing. It's a very, my opinion is they know exactly what they're doing, and they know they've got lightning in a bottle with the crowd response and the crowd being very curious as to what they're going to do with Cody. And, it is right now in 2021, you've got the precedent of John Cena, 2006 through, I really look at Cena from 06 through 15 when he had that U.S. title Open Invitation, started to kind of really get over with everybody. You look at that run, you look at the Roman Reigns run, you have got those two, the audience really being down on a babyface. And I think this is AEW taking that into account because WWE, they were aware of it during both of those runs that I mentioned, but I don't think they necessarily cared. I think it was the machine doing their thing, getting their guy over. I think Cody and AEW have been aware of this crowd reaction for a long time, and they are trying to exploit it for everything that it's worth. And you're eventually going to have Cody say, I set myself on fire for you. and this is how
And
you treat
his scars were very clearly shown. If those are real scars, should have been bandaged up, but they were clear, and you could see them.
And my goodness, I'm excited to see him and Sammy. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see the crowd reaction
He needs
there.
a wrestle in a sleeve of some sort.
Yeah. My goodness, man. I'm excited for that match. Christmas Day, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. Jamie Hayter taking on Riho. Riho is the number 1 contender, and will take on Britt Baker DMD for the Women's Championship. Now, Riho wins the match. Obviously, afterwards, Baker slaps on the lockjaw, and their little group made sure to get over on Riho.
I want to see more for Jamie Hayter. I think could be one of the mainstays of that women's division. You got to think her and Britt are coming down the way there. I mean, just because of you watch her reaction and you look at all these seeds being planted with Rebel and Britt, you've got to think it's coming. But I'd like to see her featured a little more prominently wrestling outside the scope of Britt's opponents, and it was a great match, but that's unfortunately what we got last night was her taking the loss against somebody she's trying to kind of, beat down for Britt.
4 matches announced for Rampage this Friday. First time we've had 4 matches. I thought they had a great flow when they would do 3 matches, match, segment. They've got 4. I think the main event is Lucha Brothers and FTR for the AEW Tag Team Championships. You've also got the 6-woman tag team match, Anna Jay, Ruby Soho, Tay Conte, taking on Nyla Rose, Penelope Ford, and the Bunny, Adam Cole and Wheeler Yuta, and the debut from Team Taz, Hook. He's all that and a bag of chips, taking on Fuego del Sol.
Gonna see some
chips
Hook
finally come into play, Matthew.
Absolutely. The thing of it is too, Hook's got quite the online following as well too. So, a national audience is going to get to see what Hook is all about. And hey, man, I can never fault anybody whose gimmick is chips, especially if they're a good kettle cooked variety, which by the way, I did have some of Cousins jalapeno chips. Those are pretty tasty as well too. And there's nothing bad I can say about chips.
Already announced for Winter is Coming next week, Wednesday, is going to be Paige and Danielson for the AEW Championship singles match for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, MJF and Dante Martin. And we got the promo for Shida and Deeb, Hikaru Shida and Serena Deeb. And these two look like they're on fire.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This will be a fantastic match. And I got to ask you, too. I mean, last year the precedent was set with Winter is Coming. That was the premiere of Sting. And I think so far implied, nothing specifically has been teased. But I know I'm expecting a surprise of some sort next week. So the rumor mill's been kind of quiet, man. I really haven't heard
I think you brought it up yesterday morning.
Oh, I did, huh?
Yep. I think maybe it's the return on the Machine.
Oh, yeah. No, very, very possible. And I'd be fine with that.
Okay. Tony Schiavone on the stage interviewing Varsity Blondes and Julia Hart, but the lights go out and it comes back to Malachi Black. He spit his mist into Hart's eyes and the lights go again, comes back and he's gone. This segment didn't work as well as it should have. He was too far away.
Yeah.
They should not have zoomed in on Julia Hart's face because there was no mist on it.
There was no mist on it, but it was on Brian Pillman Jr. He had a little bit of the remnants on him. Yeah, a little bit of a missed opportunity there, but here's what I'm hoping we get out of it. I'm hoping we get a feud between Brian Pillman Jr. and Malachi Black. And Malachi Black, should go over, but it's a high-profile feud for Brian Pillman Jr. I think you got to get Pillman Jr. and I think you got to get him away from the Varsity Blondes and that gimmick. I think that it's potentially holding him back right now. The few weeks when we got, I guess it was basically the Cincinnati build was when we got Brian Pillman Jr. wrestling. He kind of had his, got some different gear, this, that, and the other. Varsity Club just seems, or Varsity Blondes just seem too, just a little bit too gimmicky for, you've got a few people in AEW right now that I think are being held back by gimmicks. Brian Pillman Jr. is one, Jungle Boy's the other.
Okay, main event. Brian Danielson and Johnny Silver, Long Island born and raised. Brian Danielson promised that he was going to stomp someone's head in, and he got the victory, but it hadn't stomped his head in yet. So after the match, Brian Danielson attempts to stomp in the head. I thought there was supposed to be no touching between Danielson and Page, but Page comes out for the save on John Silver, says he's going to stomp the cowboy shiz out of him next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heck of a match. They've done a very good job. The whole Bryan Danielson thing with him taking on Dark Order has been a little bit formulaic, but I mean, hey, you got to keep in mind too, we got Bryan Danielson's heel turn less than a month ago. And this has been a thing to kind of cement Bryan Danielson as a heel to you. And what AEW has been done so well since the inception of the company for the most part has been getting that audience, and it's a very smart audience. It's not a spoon-fed audience to cheer the baby faces and boo the heels. And my goodness, the fact that you could get people to boo Bryan Danielson in unison like you've gotten over the last month blows my mind. And that just, it speaks so well of where Hangman is at as far as a baby face, and where Daniel Bryan Bryan
Danielson
is at as far as a heel, and just how well AEW can pull those turns when they want to.
You could do what David the Titan, the Zohan hero used to do. He always used to say Daniel Bryan Danielson.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
He's covering both names.
Well, you know what? That's the thing, man. I'm not going to try. I'm going to use everything just interchangeably.
There you go. Well, Matthew, that was a big one. We had a lot of information, and hopefully we jammed it all in there. Tomorrow we're going to be talking again. So for Matthew Thomas, the man they call Meathead, hey, thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. So long, everyone.